Putze and Ben, and today I'm in the Netherlands, together with Stephan from HBS, the Hobby Bunker Schriesheim. We are going to visit one of Europe's leading manufacturers for metal spin casting, 3D production printing and SiOCast injection molding, the Tinnen Roos. At the Tinnen Roos Asiga 3D printers are used to produce the master prints for the molds. As you can see, these printers produce very detailed results. At the moment you are looking at a test print for the rider parts. All parts are included except for the horses. 4 or 5 molds are already done and the horses can be seen later in this video. Quality is one of the highest goals at the Tinnen Roos. That's why Ramon is comparing all the test prints to the 3D files in order to see if any of the support structures or anchor points of the supports can be optimized to achieve an even better print quality to use either for the master prints or for production, because some of the parts for this Kickstarter are actually 3D printed in a special process that is provided for Asiga printers, where you can stack lots of prints on top of each other. A clean support structure is key to have the best possible production quality, as well as very low post-process steps for support removal. After quality control and the reprinting of the improved parts, all models must be cleaned in preparation for the mold making process. That task is handed to Stephan. He is responsible to clean the parts to the best possible result. It's quite a labor intensive process with different sanding papers. We've speeded things up a little, but in reality this took around half an hour. Ramon is showing Stephan how the parts are embedded in the silicone that will later become the molds for the SiOCast injection molding. This is a crucial step because it's very important how deep the parts are get pressed in and where things need to be covered with extra parts of silicone. Ramon is doing the first parts and after that Stephan can do the rest of the parts. Here you can see a close-up of Stephan pressing the individual parts into the silicone. He has to make sure that the parts are not pressed in too deep, but also not too shallow. In some places where the parts have undercuts, additional silicone must be built up so that it is correctly reproduced in the later mold. Here too, the process was accelerated considerably. In real time, this step took almost an hour. The mold is now fully vulcanized and can be removed from the framework. This requires loosening the screws on one side of the frame. After that you need to wiggle a bit, and then you can easily pry open the top cover and remove the finished mold. The next task is to remove the excess silicone that was created during the vulcanization of the mold. A sharp scalpel knife is used for this purpose. Ramon made the first cut. Next, Stephan has the honor of opening the mold. This is not as easy as it looks at first glance, and definitely requires a bit more strength than Stephan first suspected. But the result, the opened form, certainly excuses for the effort. After that, the master parts had to be removed from the mold. These parts are kept in case a new mold has to be made in the future. After the master prints were removed from the mold, Stephan is faced with the next important task. All the channels for the SiOCast material had to be defined. This is done by cutting into the silicone with a very sharp scalpel blade. First at an angle of about 60 degrees from one side, then from the other side as well. When two cuts have been made from each side, the joint is leveled out so that a V-shaped cut is made which forms the casting channel. It is extremely important that all the channels are exactly the same depths and widths so that the SiOCast material can be evenly distributed into the mold during injection. The air ducts were then carved into the silicone as well. The mold is now finished and has been placed in the SiOCast machine by Ramon. Now all the casting parameters such as injection time, combustion and cooling time are entered into the machine. When the material has reached the correct temperature, the green button on the machine lights up and the casting process can begin. It takes about 2 minutes for the cast to get ready to pull out of the machine. Now the cast is finished and the mold can be taken out of the SiOCast machine. Ramon is doing so. It's still a little bit warm, so it has to be placed on the table. Now he's opening it up to check if the mold was filled correctly. And as you can see, all the parts have been filled. There was a little bit overshoot, but Ramon says for the first time of building a SiOCast form, the result is really good. The details are very crisp. Now Ramon shows us the molds for the horses that are already completed until this step. You can see them in detail in a second. The molds for the horses are, of course, perfect. As you can see, these are really crisp and have no mold lines whatsoever. It's a fantastic job made by Ramon and the Tinnen Roos. Experience and the right mix in the material get a long way to get the perfect SiOCast castings, and that's possible as you see in the pictures of the horses. They are really beautiful and can be seen in all the glory and all the detail now. Ramon is taking the horses off the spruce, and in a few moments we'll get an interview with him to get a little bit more insight into the Tinnen Roos and what he is doing. Stay tuned.
Hi Ramon, thank you for having us here at the Tinnen Roos. It was an awesome experience for Stephan and myself and the Hobby Bunker Schriesheim community.
Well, nice to hear. I mean, it was really great to have some people inside of my company who are actually the users of the products that we are producing. Of course, we produce for a customer, in this case, for example, Victoria Miniatures. But I'm always interested in the people who really receive the product. How do they think about it? And I want to show the community what we are doing to make the best product as possible.
Yeah, I believe that, and I've seen you put a very much passion into your production and into the miniatures you are producing. You can see the company is your heart and soul, and you feel that in the miniatures that you receive. And now we have a background, we see where the miniatures come from, and I think it's a very different feeling. And we had a special occasion where we can build a mold and see what SiOCast and stuff like that. And what technique do you prefer? I see you use a lot. You use metal casting, you use 3D printing, you use SiOCast.
Since 2004 I started the company, basically founded with metal. Metal casting is still my biggest passion. However, the production is changing. A lot of people demand more resin miniatures than they want to have metal miniatures. The resin production can be done in different ways. We can do 3D printing of the resin. You can do a standard resin 3D printing of two components of resin, pouring them together, and all have the pluses and the minuses. Luckily, the SiOCast system came on the market a few years ago, which is really helpful because our biggest challenge is how can we produce a miniature till 5,000 pieces, and till those 5,000 pieces we still want to have the same quality, feelness as from a steel mold. To be honest, even sometimes a little bit better, because in a steel mold you can go very durable and very consistent every shot. But what they can do is just these special undercuts that we are known from resin casting or metal casting, because our silicone is very flexible. So you see also the video sometimes. We bend the silicone open, we take our part out. And this should be done with a lot of care, because your silicone mold can be damaged in this way, and it will damage. The maximum of a lifetime of a mold is 300 to 500 shots. But in this time we try to get the miniature out and see the result. And if it is metal, if it is resin, that's the customer's choice. And also with the new techniques from 3D printing, we are printing basically on a dental machine called Asiga. And this machine is not built for miniatures, but it's built for quality, it's built for a very high precision. And we are using the machines to make miniatures out of them. And some parts of the miniatures will be printed, and these printed parts we pull them off. Some bigger parts will be casted, like the horse, and then this horse and this big lens will be put together. And this is called a hybrid solution. And you can go as extremely as you want. We have customers where we have a metal miniature with a plastic base, because the plastic base is just it's a plastic base, but the metal miniature just for the weight. People sometimes like the weight for playing. Yeah.
I know that a lot of people like the weight for playing. For example, when you have the miniatures of Corvus Belli from Infinity, a lot of Infinity players like the weight the metal miniature put on the table, and I've seen you produce for many other companies too, not just Victoria Miniatures.
So, we, for example, Freebooters Fate from Freebooter Miniatures, the game Freebooters Fate is completely in metal. With the Drone Dirt, it's a little bit different. The bigger items we are at the moment producing a SiOCast, because the metal price has really increased during the pandemic, and it's still not down to the original level. So the smaller parts we do in metal, the bigger parts we do in plastic. And for the people, well, they have a little bit of mix of both. There are miniature companies like Victoria. We are now doing the 3D printing combined with the SiOCast. So I just like the combinations. For the Drone Dirt, we just don't make miniatures, but also have a laser cutter. We laser cut them. We have a UV printer. Sometimes we even print with a UV printer all kind of textures and surfaces. So everything we do in this company is with heart and soul, and we try to make sure we don't need other suppliers except for raw materials. And even with the raw materials, we're really picky. It's not that you just have a normal tin ignat and it's ready for casting. We receive the tin ignat, then we will purify it. After purifying, we make it with our own alloy. This is something I showed you yesterday. Remember when Asiga was playing with the metal? This is something, it's not a secret, but it's a craft, it's an experience, what you have built up in your company. And this is something I do for the community. Because I want my customer, my community to be very happy with our service quality.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I think everything we've seen here is top-notch quality and very high-end. And I think sometimes it pushes even the boundary what you can do with casting, is right?
That's absolutely true. And that's also the reason that a lot of companies ask us to visit other companies to consult or help them train the new staff with making some new molds. And SiOCast sends me all over the world, and Nietzsche, the Spincast department, sends me over the world. Also my reselling business with selling Asigas and 3D scanners is getting me to places that I also learn from each training that I give. But I also give this experience back to other companies. So it's just a complete circle.
Yeah, true. And we have also received a part of the training.
Yeah.
We are really happy to have the chance to experience that, to make a real SiOCast mold and make a metal mold. Thank you for that. It was a pleasure. It was an exciting experience, and thank you that you made this possible. And we wish you the best for the future, and hopefully we'll see more innovations from your side.
Will do. Thank you. Thank you, Stephan. Stephan is filming at the moment. And also we made a coin in this mold making experience. And the challenge was 3D print a coin and produce it in 24 hours. I think this is a well done challenge. I will give you the coins back to home. We made something extra, and see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us. Bye.